Welcome to Amud Yomi Shiur, everybody here in Avos Shalom, everyone that watches us on YouTube and on Torah anytime. I'd like to start the Shiur today before we start Kiddushin Daf Hey Amud Aleph in the bottom of the page. I'd like to quote the Netziv, Rabbi Naftali Tzvi of Berlin, lived between 1816 and 1893. As some of us can see on the screen, the Netziv says words, he writes words in his parish on the Chumash, Veikor Chafei Yud Ches, words that sound almost prophetic in light of today's events. And these were written definitely over 100 years ago. Pilpula shel Torah, hi charbam shel Israel, swords of iron. The people of Torah is the sword of Israel. Vehi ha'moisefet shmiras Medina, and that is what adds to the protection of the Medina, of the state. The kol mashem l'choma yoser mesukenes, the more dangerous the war, yesh l'chaded yoser sacherev. You have to sharpen the sword more and learn better, learn more be'iyun. And with that in mind, and with all the soldiers in mind, soldiers in the yeshiva, soldiers in the battlefield, all the people that are captured in Gaza, they should all be saved, they should all be salvaged and come back home in safety, and Mashiach should come very soon. B'zchus ha'Torah ha'kedosha. Lilu nishmas of Imori Menachem ben Akiva, Hus bas Shalom Sor bas Moshe, En Yerei Shabbos El Chonon Yitzchok, Lofot Chana Betzima, Pnina Chai bas Gul Arochel. Chai ben Set, Omar Rav Huna, second wide line of Hey Amud Aleph Kiddushin. We started discussing yesterday Chuppah. So before we discuss Rav Huna's idea about Chuppah, let's just summarize what Chuppah is. The Chuppah is not just, some nosy photographers and, a singer that's off-key. A Chuppah means something else, yeah? A Chuppah is the second stage of what I would call the Jewish marriage. Up until now, we discussed Kiddushin. What's Kiddushin? Kiddushin, the wife becomes prohibited for everybody else, except for the husband who's mekadesh her, as Tosa says, just like the relationship between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the hekdesh only belongs to Hashem, to nobody else. So too, the wife belongs to the husband, to nobody else. However, for many, many purposes, she's not yet his wife. First of all, they're not allowed to be together as long as Chuppah didn't take place, whatever Chuppah means. And also, important to note, financially, he has no rights over his kala. Yeah, and I'm not talking about ksuba. Please leave ksuba out of the window for now until we get to ksubas. And basically, the father of a naira, a girl who was not yet standing under the chuppah, her father is the one who is the made for her nedarim. He's the one who can break her vows. He gets her money, and he gets money that she inherits. Let's say she gets Yerusha from a rich uncle, then the father inherits. The father gets it as long as chuppah wasn't done. Once chuppah comes into the picture, she becomes the full wife of her husband, and also financially, she now is committed to her husband. And if, let's say, now money would come by Yerusha, then the money would go partially to the husband. Benichse milug, the husband would get the payras, the usage of the Yerusha. So there's also financial, which is important to know. There's a very strong dichotomy of before and after Chuppah regarding her financial status. Beforehand, she was her own boss or her father, if she was a naira, if she was young, even though she was an Eshes Ish. She was Moiroso, but before Chuppah, the financial rights did not belong to the husband, generally speaking. After the Chuppah, the husband is the one who gets nichsemilug, v'chule, v'chule, v'chule. Now, with that in mind, we can try. Now, what is Chuppah, by the way? So Chuppah is not, besides all the other descriptions I gave before, Chuppah is not necessarily the Chuppah as we know it, with, the canopy, whatever you want to call it, yeah, with the four poles. And nowadays they make it more elegant, this white, fluffy stuff. But it doesn't have to be that way. Chuppah means that it's an act that symbolizes the fact that she lives together and she's physically under the authority or living together with a husband. So as the Sfardim do, they wear the talis of the husband. He wears it over, spreads it over the head of the kala. Chuppah may mean when he covers her face. The badeken could be part of the chuppah. Chuppah means when she goes with her hair covered, yeah, and beforehand it was not covered, or tzmachloikes, yeah. It shows that she's physically actually married. Chuppah may mean cheder yichud. Chuppah may mean leading her to the cheder yichud. That's why they take them hand by hand, yeah. It's not stam. Some people say it has to be that way because he's taking her into the cheder yichud. So all these acts, the machlokes are showing him, yeah. All these acts or any of them show that the husband and wife are now not just a meuras, they are actually going to live together, and that's chuppah. But chuppah, up until now, was chuppah kiddushin? No, chuppah was not kiddushin. Chuppah was always viewed up until now as a second stage after kiddushin. And in the times of the Gemara, how would they do that? They would have an Ashes Ish Mamish, Me'oiroso mekudeshes. By the way, Kiddushin and Eros are exactly the same. The synonyms, you know that. She's mekudeshes / moreses when Rosh Chodesh Kislev. And then what? And she lives with her father. She lives in her father's house, although she's an Ashes Ish, right? And then 12 months later, that was the accepted thing, like Barivka Imenu. 12 months later, so it was supposed to be Barivka Imenu. 12 months later, there's chuppah, and she starts actually living with her husband, and that's kicked off by the ceremony of the chuppah. That's the traditional, normal way. Comes Rav Huna with a novel idea. Omar Rav Huna, says Rav Huna. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah. Omar Rav Huna. Chuppah koino. Chuppah, says Rav Huna, can serve as kiddushin. Wow. In other words, chuppah, if the couple decides, if the husband decides, and the father decides, or if the girl is old enough, if they decide that this chuppah should be kiddushin, chuppah can be the fourth way, besides kesef shtar ubiyah, chuppah can be the fourth way of actually creating kiddushin and making her into an Ashes Ish. Wow. Now, first of all, what do you mean? I thought chuppah is a second stage. Says the Tosas Rosh as follows. Tosas Rosh said the Tosas Rosh, actually I was guided to that by Chavrusa. The Tosas Rosh says like this: either it's a one-stop shop, two for the price of one. You can skip any other kiddushin because chuppah will be the kiddushin, and at the same time, chuppah will also be the nisuin. That's called kiddushin. That's called nisuin. Do it, yeah. Save time, save money, yeah. Just one thing, no ring. Ring is expensive. Just bring her under the chuppah, and that would be both kiddushin and nisuin all in one, instead of just being nisuin as the second stage. Or, says the Tosas, perhaps maybe chuppah would be the kiddushin, change the second step into the first step, and the second step, the final story, which will create nisuin, will be the bia, tachlis. Yeah, that's also an option, and the Tosas Rosh remains in a doubt. But at the end of the day, one thing is for sure: Rav Huna is coming to say something very courageous now, very different to everything else we knew. And Rav Huna is telling us that the chuppah can be the actual kiddushin. The first step can be chuppah as long as that's her kavana. Yeah, haret mekudeshes li in this chuppah, and she comes with him under the chuppah, whatever that is, and that is the kiddushin. That turns her from a non-Ashes Ish into a yes Ashes Ish. And then from now on, she's chayav skila or later chenek. Yeah, if she does anything, she becomes an Ashes Ish by the chuppah itself. That's what Rav Huna says. So, what's the source for that? In lieu of? Yes, no kesef, no shtar, no bia, only chuppah. Maybe bia later, obviously. There anyhow it's going to be bia. Yes, absolutely so. Yes. According to Rav Huna, chuppah, besides traditionally, Rav Huna also knows, as we're going to see ourselves soon, that chuppah is the second stage, which was only nisuin. Rav Huna is not suggesting, and he holds like that all the way till the end. And some people say that's halacha, by the way, that chuppah is, I'm not saying lamaisa, but some Rishonim who hold Rav Huna is right, that the chuppah itself can be the very first act from non-mekudeshes, from non-Ashes Ish into yes, instead of shtar, instead of kesef, instead of bia, chuppah does it. Let's just continue. Mikal v'chomer, it's a kal v'chomer. What's a kal v'chomer? Uma kesef she'eino machil betruma koine. Chuppah shemacheles betruma eino din shetikne, which means as follows. What happens when a kohen marries a woman? She was an Israelite. She was an Israeli, a Zoro, a regular woman who does not eat truma. Once she marries a kohen, she's upgraded, and it says kohen kikne miknes kaspoy, kikne kinyan nefesh kinyan kaspoy. Once a kohen marries a girl, that girl can what? Eat truma. Before it was chiyuv misa, she can eat truma. The Gemara at this point wants to say like this: once a kohen was mekadesh a girl, kiddushin, she cannot yet eat truma. She's his wife, but she still lives, but he's not touching her, doesn't get her money, and she lives by the tate and mame for a year until chuppah. And kesef does not make an Ashes Kohen eat truma yet. She's not eligible to eat truma, right? And yet it's koine. Kesef is generally koine, a woman, obviously. Chuppah, When does Mrs. Cohen, when will Mrs. Cohen start eating truma? When she really becomes Mrs. Cohen under the chuppah, her hair covered, there was already chuppah mama, she lives with him, then she'll start eating truma. So you see, chuppah is more powerful than kesef. And so if kesef is koine, regular women, stam kiddushin, kol sheken chuppah will do the trick and create kiddushin. Frag the Gemara, is that so? The kesef and ma'achil, are you sure? Are you sure the midoraisa, a kesef, money given to the girl who now becomes mekudeshes, do we say that really she doesn't eat truma? You're right and you're wrong. Why? V'amar Ula, says Ula, dvar toiro midoraisa, she may eat truma straight away after the kiddushin. He gave her a ring. She still learns in seminary. She still have her hair uncovered. She lives with daddy and mommy, but she is mekudeshes to the kohen. Midoraisa arusa bas Yisrael ocheles betruma. She is a bas Yisrael. I don't like to say the word engaged because it's very confusing. Mekudeshes to the kohen. She may midoraisa eat truma straight away. Why? Shenema, because look at the source. How do you know that the kohen wives eat truma? It says the kohen ki ikne nefesh kinyan kaspoy. Oh, it says once a kohen acquires kinyan of kesef. Well, by kinyan kaspoy, we gave her money. Once money is given to her, she's kinyan kaspoy. What's mekudeshes? What's the name of the parak? Rabboisa, isha niknes. She's called kinyan, acquired with kesef, right with a finger, with a ring, straight away. Who needs chuppah? Who needs hair cover? Who needs to live with him? Medoraisa, she eats truma straight away at the first stage. Umatam omu eno cheles. Why is it that Rabbanon, huge difference? Why is it midorabanan and only midorabanan she may not eat truma as long as she lives with daddy and mommy and her brothers and sisters? You know why she's not allowed to eat truma? Gzeira, Chachomim made a gzeira decree. Shema im zigu lakois beveis aviha v'tashkenu la'acher v'la'choiseo. That's a very, very famous one in Ksubas Nun Zayin. And that is, there's a gzeira, if she lives with her nucleus family with a daddy, mommy, brothers, and siblings, right? Not with a kohen, and the kohen is going to stand there, beautiful bottle of wine of truma. Look what my chassan brought me. What is that? Wine of truma. Would you like to try some too? Says the girl to her brothers and sisters, and now they're going to be chayv misa b'dei shamayim. In other words, she's living in a non-kohen environment, and she very much likely is to share her food with them. She eats truma sent to her by her beloved husband slash orus, right? Midoraisa, that's okay, but there's very, very big danger that she may share that with her siblings. That's what Chachomim made it takana. No. Midorabanon, as long as you're not really living with him in your own kitchen, which is Kohen only kitchen, until you get to that stage, you don't eat truma. But midoraisa, you're wrong. Your whole Kal V'chomer is based on the wrong premise, because really the Kiddushin, the Kesef, midoraisa, does create a situation of eating truma, and therefore that Kal V'chomer is out the window. Rav Huna remains, because now Rav Huna is giving us another attempt. Now Rav Huna is going to suggest a different Kal V'chomer. Again, what's Rav Huna trying to get at? What's Rav Huna's goal? Rav Huna has his goal set to tell us that chuppah can serve as kiddushin instead of kesef, instead of shtar, instead of bia. There's a fourth one. I mean, of course, you can do kesef, shtar, or bia. There's a fourth option. If you don't want any of the above, why not? You can do chuppah, and chuppah will create the first stage of kiddushin, and that's what Rav Huna is coming to tell us. Ella, what is now? Ella, rather, we are now establishing a different Kal V'chomer. Porich hachi. Porich, by the way, should know, is not always a question. Porich sometimes is an invitation for Kal V'chomer. Porich means a quick question in a way of we're creating a Kal V'chomer. Uma kesef she'einoi goimer. Let's look at the financial side. Kesef does not finish the job. Says Rashi, you can see the last Rashi, the kesef does not get her out of her father's reshus from Maaseh Daim in Yerusha. When she's a girl with ring on her finger, because she's already mekudeshes to, forget about Kohen, by the way, mekudeshes to the men, right? At that stage, she's working. She's a working girl. She's a naira. She's between 12 and 12 and a half. Who gets all her salary? The father. Still the father. Still the father. Oh, so financially speaking, Kesef did not really finish off the job from the financial side at all. We're not talking here about the fact that her husband is not allowed to touch her, because that's not such about kinyan. We're talking about money, kesef, money, and guilt. Yeah. So we're talking here about the kesef she'einoi goimer. it doesn't do the trick when it comes to financials. The kesef, she's the same before and after, and yet it's koine. And yet kesef has the power to start her off, and koine, she's acquired to her husband. She's an HSC, she's his wife. If so, chuppah shegoimeres, enodin shetikne, a chuppah that does finish off the job. Because once a chuppah is there, the husband acquired her completely, and now she's his wife. A day after the chuppah, a second after the chuppah, Uncle Sam from America died, and she was his favorite niece, and she got $10 million. A second before the chuppah, why did he die? Because she gets all the money, or her father. The second after the chuppah, the 10 million are at least shared with the husband. Yeah. So the chuppah is what does the trick for the financial rights. So you see, chuppah is finishing off the job, and that's a heck of a kinyan. Eino din shetikne. Kol sheken, that should also do the kick of the starting point. Isn't it logical to say that the chuppah should also be the kinyan to make her into an ashes ish? If it works for the kinyanim of kesef at the end of the story, yeah, which is in that respect better than money, why shouldn't it work to be the beginning of the story too, and to create kiddushin by chuppah? That is basically the basic kal v'chomer of Huna. But that's only the beginning of the journey. Frag the Gemara, not fragt, it's now we're having this kal v'chomer is turning into a b'mei matzinu. Frag the Gemara, mala kesef, you're trying to tell me that kesef, right, is weaker than chuppah, right? Chuppah does the kinyan for the financial stuff at the end, and kesef doesn't. And yet, if kesef creates kinyan, the weak one, a chuppah, the choshuva, the big one, the stronger one, of course, chuppah will create kiddushin and kinyan. Create kiddushin. I'm saying kiddushin to not confuse you. Frag the Gemara, no, mala kesef shekin podim mekudeshes u'maisel sheni, as we said before. Kesef also has this advantage that chuppah doesn't. Kesef, as we saw before, is a way to redeem hekdesh and meiser sheni. You cannot do that with chuppah. You can't. Chuppah doesn't help you, yeah, to redeem hekdesh and meiser sheni. There's no such thing. So see, kesef has an advantage over chuppah. Why saying that chuppah is stronger? Dr. Gemara, no. Bia tochiach. Yeah, I'll prove you from bia. Why? Look, bia is also something that you can't do bia to redeem meiser sheni and hekdesh. Nothing to do with that, right? And so too, and yet bia is koine. Is one of the ways to be koine. So chuppah that doesn't do hekdesh and meiser sheni should also be koine. We can learn from bia to chuppah. Both of them has nothing to do with hekdesh meiser sheni. Just like bia is koine, the girl mekadesh, so to chuppah should be mekadesh. Says the Gemara, no. Mala bia shekin koine beivama. Bia has an advantage that nobody else has. Bia does the trick with yavama. If the yavam and yavama have bia, the oines, the rotzen, maybe a mistake. They didn't even know the yavam and yavama. The met and they had bia, yeah, like znus, she's his wife. So bia is koine beivama, and chuppah doesn't. There's no chuppah beivama, not at all. Yeah. So you see what? A bia is koine beivama, mashenkin chuppah is not. So chuppah is still in a disadvantage. Kesef yochiach says, okay, so look at kesef. Kesef is not koine in yavama, and yet it's koine by a regular woman. So chuppah that's not koine beivama should also, yes, be koine with what? With a regular woman. The chazar adin, if you notice, each one is a plus and a minus. The chazar adin, at the end of the day, yeah, both kesef and bia together can teach something about chuppah. Kesef has one advantage, yavama. Bia is an advantage of yavama that chuppah doesn't. Kesef has hekdesh meiser sheni that bia doesn't. But at the end of the day, the chazar adin lo reizeh kerizeh v'lo reizeh kerizeh, which means they share each one, kesef and bia, each one has 1 point different to chuppah and 1 point similar to chuppah. Atzad shove shebahen, one thing they share in common, shekoinin be'alma. Both kesef and bia, 2 out of the 3 kinyonim, both kesef and bia are koine in other areas of halacha. Kesef is koine many things, right? Avodim, kolkois, choives, mili, whatever, and bavasa. Kesef, no, actually, let's start, excuse me. Kesef is koine many things, avodim and kolkois, uchulei. Bia is koine avoma, the koine in kan. And also, kesef and bia are koine in a woman, right? Shlosha drochim, that's 2 out of the 3 ways of the Mishnah. Afani avi chuppah, this is Ravuna now on a high horse. Afani avi chuppah, I will also bring chuppah into the group. I'll bring chuppah into the club. Shekoine be'alma. Chuppah also has its independent kinyan, because chuppah is the only thing that creates what? Financial rights of the husband, and now the husband is going to get all the Yerusha, the money she has, part of it at least, in the Dorim. Now the husband is going to stop the nonsense of her having the Dorim from wearing, I don't know, green clothes, whatever. He'll break the vow. He's the one in charge. Ah, so too chuppah, just like chuppah is kinyan of the financial rights at the end of the erusin, chuppah should also create kiddushin. Very good. So we learn kesef and bia are kinyonim that are koine somewhere else and also by a woman. Chuppah is also koine somewhere else at the end of the horizon. So chuppah at the beginning should also be koine. No, it's not the same. So basically, kesef and bia, each one has a pro and a con. At the end of the day, they're evened out. They're the same level, and chuppah is the same level as them. Says the Gemara, no. I'm closing the doors of the club, of Kiddushin club, because kesef and bia have something that chuppah doesn't. What is that? There is a common denominator between kesef and bia that chuppah doesn't. As we said before. Kesef and shtar both are enjoyable much more than chuppah. Standing under the chuppah, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, I was very hungry when I was under the chuppah. It's very nice, but I'm saying after a day of fast and it's very hot and the flesh is in your face. Chuppah, yeah, it was very nice, very moving, but chuppah, yeah, chuppah is chuppah, and kesef and shtar are amazing hana. Yeah, they are nos and meruba, so you can't prove anything. Maybe she's nikne with hana, with enjoyment of kesef, not shtar, kesef and bia. Sorry. Kesef and bia are hana. Chuppah is not as much of a no, and therefore lav dafka. You can't prove that it's koine. Maybe bahano she's marking herself, but the chuppah is not getting any hano, so she's not marking herself with the hano of chuppah. It's not hano. What's the answer? Shtar. Shtar yochiach. Shtar is not enjoyment. She's getting a flimsy piece of paper where it's written, "You are my wife." Getting the shtar, maybe it's fun to be married for her, but shtar yochiach, shtar of itself, that's not hano. It's not enjoyment, and yet shtar is a kinyan. Oh, so to chuppah should be a kinyan. Shtar brought chuppah into the club. No, it's not the same. Shtar has the one and unique power that nobody else has. Shtar can get a Bas Yisrael out of marriage. That is not true, not about kesef, not about bia, as we worked already through, right? And not bechuppah either. So therefore, maybe only shtar is the one that can bring her into the marriage because it can get her out of the marriage. But chuppah doesn't get her out of the marriage, so maybe it doesn't get her into the marriage. No, kesef ubia yochichu. Wait, but kesef ubia, they're also in the club of what? Of kiddushin, right? Kesef ubia, they're not getting her out of the marriage, they're getting her into the marriage. So to chuppah, it's not a way out, and still it's a way in. You want to tell me it's enjoyment? So what? Enjoyment is not a condition, because the shtar, which is not fun at all, is also kiddushin. Mazel tov. But when all three together work, it's true that kesef shtar ubia, each one has its own quirk, its own thing, its own advantage. But one thing for sure about kesef shtar ubia, shekoinin be'alma the koinin kan. Kesef and shtar ubia, all of them are koines somewhere else outside the kiddushin of Eshes Ish. Kesef is koine many things. Shtar also, bas karkos and avodim. Bia is koine avomo, right? The koinin kan. And these three psalms, they all acquire a regular, not yavom, a regular woman at the beginning of the kiddushin, the creating kiddushin. I will also bring chuppah into the club, into the story, into the group. Shekoine be'alma. Chuppah is koine be'alma. Why is that be'alma? Somewhere else. A woman is already mekudeshes. She's been mekudeshes for 12 months. But now there's the new kinyan regarding nedorim, regarding financial rights. It could be a $10 million. Yeah, she got $10 million Yerusha. A second before the chuppah, a second after the chuppah. That's a heck of a kinyan, the chuppah, right? Made him win all the money, again, all the money. And it's koine be'alma. The koine can. Very good. And so too says Rav Huna, chuppah too, just like it's koine in other places, like the other three, should be koine over here to start off the kinyan and create the kiddushin. Frek the Gemara, and I promise you that is almost the last stage. I would still find a common denominator between them, excluding chuppah. What is that? Sheken yeshnan bal korcho. Kesef shtar ubia always exists somewhere out there, Baal Korcho against the will of someone. Why is that? Yeah. Says Rashi, same Rashi as before. Look at the second Rashi. Shekoine be'alma, bia be'yavoma. A bia in Yavoma is koine Baal Korcho, even if she doesn't want it. Yeah, funnily enough, even if he didn't want it. Like it's just a reality that it happens. Bia just clicks it and she's his wife completely, if the Yavoma Yavoma, even against her will. The shtar begerushin, a woman by shtar beget shtar of gerushin, and against her will she may be divorced and acquiring herself back to herself, although she wanted to be married. The kesef b'ama ivriya, and kesef is koine ama ivriya, a girl under a bas mitzvah can be sold by her father against her will. So you see that those three things are more powerful. The fact that kesef shtar will be a somewhere out there, outside regular kiddushin, have the power to be koine against someone's will is stronger than chuppah. Chuppah, whenever says koine against someone's will, or you drag someone to the chuppah, no, yeah, and if yes, it doesn't work. Rav Huna, so now Rav Huna is in trouble. Because Rav Huna, you're trying to tell me just like the other three, so to let bring chuppah into the club. No, those three are upper class. They're strong. They couldn't work Baal Korcha. Chuppah, you stay out of the club. You're not as strong as us. Because you chuppah, you don't work against Baal Korcha. So maybe chuppah should not be part of the thing. So what's Rav Huna going to say now? Rav Huna is always bringing chuppah into the story. Questions are welcome in a minute. Answers the Gemara, kesef mia beishus lo ashkechan Baal Korcha. Oh, Rav Huna says as follows, and it's a very, very tricky, difficult story here with Rashi and Tosfos. I'll do my best. Kesef beishus lo ashkechan means as follows. Says Rashi, kesef, whenever found that a woman, by kesef, that's true, obviously, an adult woman, you cannot force her to marry by kesef. You can't force her to marry in any event, right? When you said kesef shtar ubia akoine Baal Korcho, shtar has to do with marriage, the way out, against her will. She wants to go to the psychologist again and try and work out the marriage. He says no. Midoraisa, even with the Rabban before Chem Rabban Gershon, sticks the get in her hand, out of my sight. Yeah, and it's to do with Kiddushin, with marriage. Bia, marriage of Yavoma. Kesef, when, excuse me, you said Kesef works Baal Korcha, not in Kiddushin, because it works by Ama Ivriya. Ama Ivriya is not meant to be married, not at the first stage. That's what Tosfos says. Okay, it's a good point. But Lamaisa, I hear what you're saying, but the first step of Ama Ivriya, and there is an opinion of Rabbi Lazar that says that Ama Ivriya, even if we know that she'll never be married to the master, she can still be sold as an Ama. Let's say you can sell it to her brother, even though he'll never marry her. It's Machloikis, but Rabbi Lazar holds that. So Lemaisa, because in the realm of issues, we never found that what? Kesef is koine Baal Korcha. Yeah, you can't give kesef to an adult woman against her will and she's married. You can't marry a woman against her will. Yeah. Mimela what? Mimela, we see that in the realm of issues, kesef doesn't work Baal Korcha, and yet kesef is a kinyan. So to chuppah, even though chuppah doesn't work Baal Korcha, still the chuppah is going to work as meaning Baal Korcha of marriage, of the topics of men-woman topic. Yeah, there we didn't see that kesef flexes his muscles. Kesef can work Baal Korcha of anybody, right? And yet it works, stam, as regular kinyan. It's the first one in the Mishnah. So to chuppah, even though it's not Baal Korcha bichlal, can work as kiddushin, and that's the end of Rav Huna. I'll read to you Tosfos. Rashi here is very hard. Let's read Tosfos, and you'll understand the problem here. Tosfos the third, and thank you for your patience, but Tosfos comes before you people. You understand that? Tosfos the third Tosfos in the page. Rav Huna bekesef bishus mia lo ashkech Baal Korcha. Frek Tosfos. This Tosfos is a shorter version of the previous Tosfos in the previous Amud. Afal pi sha'av mekadesh bito iktanu Baal Korcha. Oh, excuse me. Why are you telling me that nobody in Judaism can ever marry against their will? That sounds very nice if you're in a Kiddushin, of course, in Eshet Torah, and it's nice and it's true. It's not always true. The girl is 10 years old. She doesn't want to marry that guy. The father receives Kiddushin against their will, right? No. So why are you telling me that kesef in Kiddushin is never Baal Korcha? The girl says, no, I don't want that guy. I don't want to marry that uncle. Mikol Mokoim, nevertheless, Kevin Shumidas Sa'av lo ikari Baal Korcha kedeprishis. Because the father wants that, and the father represents her side, somebody has to want that. In other words, it's true that she may not, she may be very unhappy with the little girl, but the father represents her. The father is her yad l'kiddushin. Ktana has no yad, by the way. Yeah, the yad l'kiddushin of the ktana belongs to the father. So yeah, in other words, as opposed to Gittin and Biav Yavam, which is completely Baal Korcha, here there have to be two willing partners. The one who buys her to be a wife, the husband, and the father representing her. In fact, she doesn't want, that's internal politics between her and her father. But the side of the Kala they want represented by the father. The Oid, and another claim, and I think that's work better with Rashi. If you want to call that Baal Korcha, says this is a brilliant answer. Let's say, no, I don't buy that. No. It's against the will of the girl, and it's called Baal Korcha. Wait a minute. What are we discussing here, Baal Korcha or not? We're trying to see, is Kesef stronger than Chuppah or the same as Chuppah, right? Says this is brilliant. The Chuppah nami yeshkachna ke'gavna, shav moises bitu ktana l'chuppah. Which means, if you want to tell me that Kesef is kind of Baal Korcha with the little girl, and it's stronger than Chuppah, no, it's not stronger than Chuppah. Because just like the father is allowed to take the money against his daughter's will for Kiddushin, he can also make her go to the Chuppah also against her will. It's a hemshech of the story. So Lamaisa, at the end of the day, whichever way you look at it, Lamaisa Chuppah is not weaker than Kesef. At the end of the day, Ravuna comes out with flying colors. Wow. Ravuna, give me H, give me U, give me A. Yeah? At the end of the day, Ravuna managed with thick and thin to Lamaisa tell us something very, very simple. Very simple. Kesef, Shtar, Bia, are all kinyonim somewhere else? Yes. They're also kinyonim where? In Kiddushin? Yes, we learned the Mishnah. So to Chuppah. Chuppah is in its own individual, independent kinyon. At the end of the term of Erusin, they stand under the Chuppah, he covers her face, and in that happy moment, she becomes financially, not completely his, but he gets a lot of financial rights over her. That's some kinyon. So too, that kinyon Chuppah should also be the fourth kinyon of Kiddushin. Baal Korcha, we dealt with Baal Korcha. Omarove, so is that the halacha? Oh, you should know that some Rishonim hold yes. Ritz Morash Ramban. Major Rishonim hold that halacha is like Ravuna, that Chuppah can be a kinyan. Yeah, save on the ring. However, we're not there yet. We're not done yet. Omarove. Rove is now okay. Now I'm sorry. Oop. You wanted to ask something? Question break. Question break. Hector Shiur again put the Netziv's words to give us some chizuk, and we go on. Amarove, shtei tshuvas v'dovo. I have two answers to give Rav Huna. I have two things to tell Rav Huna to not disprove, to question what Rav Huna says. Chada, claim number one I have against Ula, that Rav Huna, I'm sorry, did it say Ula? Rav Huna. No, Rav Huna, because what was it? Oh, shtei tshuvas v'dovo. Chada, first, the sholosh tnan, the Dalet Leutnant may have a very nice idea, but the Mishnah says not like you. I'm sorry. The Mishnah says 3 and not 4. If the Mishnah said there are 3 ways, and the Mishnah mentioned number 3, that is definitely coming to exclude something. What is it coming to exclude? I think it comes to exclude Chuppah. So your svar is nice and everything, but the Tanoim seem not to follow your logic. The Oid, and another claim against you. By the way, Ravuna had an answer that this comes to exclude Chalipin. Remember? Oh, so if you want to answer that, I have another answer. I have another thing to retort up my sleeve. The Oid, and this is. I assumed you guys are going to ask Rava's question. Something in the whole logic of Ravuna is missing. Lichoira. Look what Rava says. Klum chuppah gomeres el alidei kiddushin. Chuppah is very strong and big, only when it rides on the heels of Kiddushin, right? Which chuppah is it that finishes off the whole process, and now the real husband and wife, now they're living together, and he yarshins the $10 million, and he's going to break your vows? That's before you came to the scene, Ravuna. The classical way is what? Chuppah is only a big girl after what? After Kiddushin. Not before Kiddushin. V'chi gamrin chuppah shelo lidei Kiddushin, mechuppah shalidei Kiddushin. There's something wrong with the whole logic. There are 2 types of chuppahs. The chuppah that you're trying to tell me is stronger than Kiddushin got its power from Kiddushin. The chuppah post Kiddushin is very strong because of Kiddushin and chuppah. Yeah, but you're trying to create a new creation over here called chuppah without Kiddushin. Who says? It's 2 different stories, right? Chuppah post Kiddushin Yeah, is very strong and big because there has been Kiddushin already, finished off by Chuppah. Chuppah is a dessert, is a makir bepatish. But you don't know to learn from that Chuppah of the post Kiddushin to create the Chuppah of before Kiddushin. They're two different animals, two different stories, two different creatures. And therefore, I disagree with your whole premise. Omar le Abaye. Abaye is now defending Rav Huna. Omar le Abaye defending Rav Huna. Hadaka Omar at Gimel Tanan v'Dalad Lo Tanan. My dear colleague Rove, says Abaye to his opponent and cousin Rove, the fact that you're telling me that the Mishnah says 3 are not 4, I have what to answer. Tana milsa de ksiva behedia tani, milsa de lo ksiva behedia lo tani. Behedia means explicitly. A word, a halacha that's written in the Torah, inside the text of the Torah, behedia, black and white, is mentioned in the Mishnah. Kesef, you all guys said it beautifully yesterday. Kesef ki ikach, ube'olo is be'ila, from get, v'yotza, v'hoisa. These are all words you read in Kriyas Torah, in the Torah. Yeah. Mashe'enki milsa, which is not written in the Torah. Maybe the Oraisa, but it's a kal v'chomer, or b'mematzinu. Yeah, it's derived from human logic. Yeah, it could be it's the Oraisa because it's one of the Shloshes, whatever. But Lamais, it's not written in the Torah. Things that are not written in the Torah are not mentioned in the Mishnah. It's a stylistic thing. The Mishnah tells us about, the Mishnah is always the second stage after the Torah. The Mishnah is summarizing the things written in the Torah. The fourth one may be a good kinyan, but because it's not mentioned in the Torah, stylistically, we don't talk about it. That's answer number one. That's a strong taina. Yeah. You know, they say, the Chazon Ish says, probably based on people before him, that we think we live in such an advanced generation. It's all very true. Science today is much more advanced than 19th century, but it's based on science of 19th century, right? Yeah, I'm saying without the 19th century science, says the Chazon Ish, we're a dwarf sitting on the shoulders of a giant. Yeah, and it's a little bit the same thing what Rav is saying over here. The chuppah is very big girl and a very big after Kiddushin, but chuppah before Kiddushin, who says it works by itself? Chuppah before and chuppah after is not the same. You think you're smarter than Louis Pasteur, you are and you're not. Yeah, Rav Huna, however, Abai has an answer for that. Rav Huna nami hachi kaomar. Yeah, that's what Rav Huna actually means. I'll reinterpret to you what Rav Huna means to say, says Abai, defending Rav Huna. Uma kesef she'enu goimer achar kesef koine. You're talking to me about second stage, it's a dwarf and giant. Okay, let's say, why didn't the Torah establish such an idea, or Chazal, that there should be one kesef given as Kiddushin, and 12 months later, who has koich for chuppah and all that, give another sum of money for nisuin? We're not used to that, but that would be an idea. Give her another ring. Oh, that'd be so nice. 2 rings. Ring of Erusin and rings of Nisuin. Oh, right? And that ring of Nisuin or money of Nisuin will do the whole job, right? That will make him have the money, and then they'll be with each other, with Bia, and they'll live together. We don't say that. So you see that when it comes to the second stage, which you only claim is just the second stage, thank you. But Kesef doesn't work in that just second stage, right? Right? Chuppah shegomer sacher Kesef, chuppah that at the end of the day, when it comes to that second stage, focus only on the second stage. And that second stage, chuppah has the power to work after Kesef. Well, Kesef itself doesn't have the power to work after the first Kesef. That's the logic of Rav Huna. Rav Huna believes that, yeah, just like Kesef is koine, again, just like, not just like, even more. That's original Kal V'chomer. The original Kal V'chomer was, if Kesef that cannot serve as the makir bepatish as a final stage, even if it's he's not even the dwarf on top of the giant. He's only the giant, but he can't be the second stage. He can't be the one that finishes off the job, the kesef. Yeah, and yet chuppah is so too. The chuppah that can be koine after the kesef can also be koine at the beginning. This is the logic of Rav Huna, and a lot of Rishonim say, listen to this. The Rishonim say, Abai and Rava, who's halacha like? Not so simple. You're going to tell me Rava, except for 6 cases. Unbelievable yesod. Listen to this. I almost fell off my chair when I saw this today. Abai and Rava, halacha like a Rava, big yesod, only when they argue between themselves and they invented the argument. But when they're coming to support the third opinion, then many times the rules change, and maybe Abai is right. And that's what the Ritva, Rashba, and many Rishonim hold, that you have 2 against 1. You have Abaye and Rav Huna ganging up, so to speak, on Rava's opinion. Yeah, and Abaye, the fact that Abaye is weaker than Rava, it's not true. because they're arguing about Ravuna, not about themselves. And therefore here, halacha, the Geoinim say that Chuppah is not koine, but many Rishonim say Chuppah is koine, like Ravuna, that's supported by Abaye, who here has no disadvantage. We have to continue, or really have just the last session of questions for today. Yes, 25. Oh, Baruch Hashem, we know what the three kinyonim are, Kesef Shtar Ubia, maybe also Chuppah, and we know that these kinyonim have their sources. Says the Brisa, no, tell me how to do it. How do you do Kiddushin? Tono bonon. Ketzad bekesef, how shall kinyan kesef, Kiddushin kesef, how does that work? So the Brisa here has two parts. The upcoming Brisa is a Reisha and a Seifa, like many of them. Nosan lo kesef, the man gave her, the woman, money, or shvekes, if anything worth money, such as a ring or a watch, whatever. The Omer lo, and he told her, Aret mekudeshes li, Are at moreses li, Are at li into. Either mekudeshes or moreses is the same thing, or into is a wife. You're going to be my wife. With this, you're my wife. Are zo mekudeshes. Yeah, she is mekudeshes. So what do we say? He has to do two things, as we all know from the Chuppah. What does he do? He says and he gives, right? Yeah, he gives her the ring and he says Haret mekudeshes. He has to do the nesina, the giving of the money, and also the text that he says he also has to utter and say Haret mekudeshes. All very nice. Aval, however, comes the seifa. He shenos no ve'omro, he hareni mekudeshes lecho. If she gave him the ring, yeah, and she says I'm mekudesh to you, yeah, hareni moreses lecho, I'm giving you a ring, and I'm saying what? I'm becoming now your wife, or kesef, now love the ring. Hareni lecho into, I'm becoming your wife. Ein mekudeshes. In other words, if she said what? I'm your wife, and she gave him the item, then she's not mekudeshes. So the Reisha is telling me like this. The Reisha says, when is it good Kiddushin? Listen carefully. Maybe you're going to get the question of the Gemara before the Gemara is going to ask you. I want you guys to get the question before the Gemara. The Reisha says, it's a good Kiddushin, nice Jewish boy. You know what he does? He does two things. He gives the kesef and he says. And only then it's good Kiddushin. Nothing less than that. But it's bad Kiddushin. That's not going to work. Invalid. Yeah, incompetent. That is if she said and she gave. Something here doesn't work right, because as we've seen with many brises, stira bediyukim, something is going to fall between the cracks, or between the chairs, we say in Hebrew. Maskif lo Rav Papa. Rav Papa is now attacking. Rav Papa is now attacking the brisa. It's a very strange lashon, yeah. Taima denosanu ve'omahu. Look at this ratio. Let's focus now only on the ratio. Put the ratio on the limelight. When is it good Kiddushin? When you checked both boxes. Yeah, right? You tick the boxes of saying, he said, tick. He gave, tick. Hey, what happens in the middle of the road case? What if it's the 50-50 case? Half egalitarian. Nosanhu the omrohi. Let's say he gave the money, or he gave the ring, and she said, I'm mekudeshes to you. Ain't a mekudeshes. That's not good. You have to have two boxes ticked, him. But if it's him, her, half, then it's not good. Ema seifa. Let's run to the Seifa now and highlight only the Seifa. What does it say in the Seifa? Aval hi shenos noloy v'omro hi lo yavu kiddushin. When she said and she gave, that's bad. Then it doesn't work. Mashma that if it's half, then it does work. Omro hi, yeah, time denos v'omro hi, because she said and she gave. Nosan hu v'omro hi. But if he gave and she said, have a kiddushin, it sounds like it is good, right? Clearly, the middle of the road case, right? It's like saying only 100% is good, mashma anything less than that is not good. And the Sefer says only 0% is not good. Mashma 50-50 is good. So the middle of the case, half him, half her, falls between the cracks. What's going on here? As the Gemara says, yeah, that's a question. Answers the Gemara, and I have a thesis I'd like to share with you if we have time. I'm not sure we will. Answers the Gemara, no, this is going to teach you something about how to learn a brisa. Reisha davka. The Reisha is the more exact part. The Reisha is the precise part. The Reisha is the real deal. When he said and he gave, it's good. Anything less than that, when they start playing halfway, doesn't work. Seifa kedei nasva. The Seifa is only written b'derech agav. Sometimes brises, even Mishnayos, let alone brises, are not exactly exact. And what? And the Seifa is just mentioned by the way. we just mentioned the lotion of nos nohi v'omroi, that it's not good, stylistically to finish off the sentence. Because the Reisha said, yes, yes, the Sefer says, no, no. But really, it's lav davka. Frag the Gemara, no. There's a limit. As much as we are very tolerant to Mishnais and Brises being not exactly exact, frag the Gemara, I can't take this anymore. The Tani Sefer Milsa, the Satra la Reisha. The Sefer here is contradicting the Reisha. I can understand extra words thrown in. I can understand something that's not 100%, but the Sefer is mamish in the face against the Reisha. The Sefer is sending a message which is mid-air collision with the Reisha, right? That's not, by the way, stylistic, yeah? Somebody will tell Israel, I love you, I hate you. That's not but, it's a stira, no such thing. Ela achikoma must be, therefore, now we're coming with an answer. Nosan huv omarhu, if the husband, the man gave and said, shitad ava kiddushin. That's simple that it's kiddushin. Needless to say that that's kiddushin. The man does the whole thing because it says kiikach. We know from the Torah the man has to be active. The rest is not such a chiddush. Nosan hu v'omrohi. Our very touchy, very questionable middle of the case, middle of the road case. He gave the money and she said, "I'm becoming your wife." Nasa, we're hinting to this case, alluding nasa kemi shenos nohi v'omrohi v'lav kiddushin, which means the Reisha is the winner. And really, the Mishnah is telling me, needless to say, that the man does everything. Anything below the man doing everything, if they start playing half-half, then what? Then clearly it has the status of the Seifa. It's as if the woman said everything and it's possible. That's better. Yeah, that is answer number one. I'm really challenging to see Toises. I may hear your questions and the Toises. Let's see first the second answer. The boy Seima. We're going to see very, very big Yesodis here about Sofek Doraisa L'Chumra. We're about to meet unbelievable Yesodis of the Rishonim from the entire Shas in these lines. Hereby Seima. Another alternative answer to the question. Remind me the question? Says the Reisha. He gave, he said, it's good. Says the Seifa. She gave, she said, it's not good. What about the hybrid? What happens with middle case? We had one answer. Now we're trying to get another answer. Hereby Seima. Nosan hu v'omer mekudeshes. Mekudeshes. He gave, he said, nice Jewish boy, nice wedding, mekudeshes. Nos naiv omrohi, ain't a mekudeshes. Okay. She did it all, she has a mekudeshes. Nosanu v'omrohi. You know what happens in the middle? If he gave and she said, you know what? Sfeikahi. It's a doubt, it's a question. It's not a stira. The Bryce is purposely telling you one big question mark. I don't know what's going to happen in the middle of the road case. She's a sofek mekudeshes. The chayshinan midarabonon, here starts fun, which means if they are trying to play a game, I don't know who's the rabbi who made the Kiddushin, Rabbi Elizabeth or close, yeah. So now what? We have the man giving, and the wife was saying, and that is a question. We really don't know what would be the halacha, and therefore midarabonon, it's a sofek Kiddushin. Midarabonon, we're machmir. What does midarabonon, we're machmir? If she now doesn't like him and she wants out of the marriage, she would need a get because maybe she's mekudeshes, right? On the other hand, let's say while they were sofek married, she got married to someone else. She was mekudeshes to his friend with kiddushin. Then those second kiddushin may be good kiddushin because maybe the first ones weren't. Why can't a married woman marry another man? She didn't touch him. Why can't a married wife, a married woman, marry somebody else? Because she's caught. That's against the whole essence of kiddushin. She's taken, occupied, But if she's a sofek mekudeshes to Reuven, to the first guy, then Shimon gave her a ring and she was willing. She's a sofek to Shimon. Why is she a sofek? Because we don't know what happened, and midarabanan we are concerned. She's a sofek eshes ish. She would need a get misofek, right? And on the other hand, if she received kiddushin while in that limbo, those other kiddushin were also misofek. She would need get from both husbands, by the way. Come home and ask your wife a trivial question. When would the woman need at the same time get from two husbands? That is, sofek mekudeshes to Reuven. So Mimela, it's a sofek if Shimon caught on or not. Yeah, very nice. I don't know. Tell me how your wives would relate to such a question. Why am I so excited here? Now you're not going to ask this question. Why chashinan midarabanan? Why do we say that Rabbanan created the chashash? Last time I checked, sofek doraisa l'chumra. What are we saying here? There's a suffix. So Rabbanan imposed the chashash. No. Rabbanan, it's Midoraisa, suffix Doraisa Lechumra. A few answers. The one who's very, very happy here is the Rambam and his friends. The Rambam in Ko says in Kiddushin, in two places, in Kiddushin, based on the Gemara in Kiddushin in the first and third parak, the Rambam says that suffix Doraisa Lechumra is only Midorabanan. Midoraisa, suffix Doraisa is Lekula. Rabbanan are the ones who established, that suffix. Here, look, you see him, right? You see. Rabbanan are the ones who imposed the whole idea of suffix Doraisa Lechumra, including here, answer number one. Those who oppose the Rambam are moving in their chairs, uncomfortably. They have a terrific answer. They have a terrific answer too. Really, suffix Doraisa Lechumra is what Doraisa, right? Right? Is suffix Doraisa Lechumra. Why is it Rabbanan here they invented? It's Doraisa, not the Rabbanan. I'll tell you why. A woman who has a suffix, whether she's mekudeshes or not, we always bring that as an example of chazakeh. Up until the moment of that dubious kiddushin, what was she before? The second before that crazy, funny, middle of the road kiddushin, half egalitarian, she was a besula. She was single. She was single. She was a non-eshetish. So midoraisa, it's not a suffix doraisa. It's a chazakah that she's a pnuya. Chazakah that she's not married. So really, midoraisa, although usually suffix doraisa lechumra, I don't know if a benched or didn't bench again, right? Classical one, yeah? Kiddushin, you can't say, okay, she's mekudeshes. No, she's muchzak to be single. So therefore, right? Oh, says the Ran, because of chumras erva, because eshutish is an extremely severe thing, here we go against the chazaka and we establish a suffix doraisa lechumra here, even though it's not a suffix doraisa lechumra because the chazaka makes it lekula. We ignore the chazaka. Who's we? Rabbanan. Rabbanan are choishesh. Choishesh. Listen to the lashon. Because although really we usually when we have a suffix yes no we go back and see what was the previous situation. That's called chazaka. Here we ignore that mechanism of chazaka and we are creating keilo suffix doraisa and ignoring the chazaka. We are Rabbanan are choishesh to that. That's the other answer. The other answers, but that's the main one. Very nice. That she was not married the second before. If you don't know if you're Tomer or Tor, and before the mikveh, you're Tom. That's all. Chazaka always means look at the situation before the doubt started, before the question. She was not married, obviously. Single girl, no hair cover, no this, right? Then started the suffix. Usually we don't go by Chazaka, and that's the Rabbanan who invented that idea not to follow Chazaka. Only here. The other places, he says here because of chumras erva. That's what says. That's what the Ran says. Unbelievable, huh? Hashinan, right? Oh, right. It's not suffix d'Rabbanan. Very nice. Shlomo is very good. Shlomo say very. It's not suffix d'Rabbanan, suffix d'Oraisa. It's Rabbanan who are choishesh to the Oraisa case. Very, very fine line here. Only Talmidei Chachamim like you to get it. Very good. Very nice. Unbelievable. So now. With your permission, I'm not going to continue now. I'm going to read you a Tosfos. I'm going to read you a Tosfos, and you read it with me in the next 2 minutes. The Tosfos is Hanosani ve'omruhi. That's Tosfos number 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the smallest Tosfos in the page. I think it's number 4. Hanosanu ve'omruhi. I don't know if you noticed because I read it a little bit quickly. We said, what are the two cases? He said and he gave, that's great. She said, she gave, that's really bad. What was the middle case that we kept talking? He gave the money and she said, I'm yours. Yeah. And that is a question and that's a whole story. What about another hybrid in the middle? What about if he said Aret mekudeshesly and she gave? The Gemara consistently ignores that. There's another mixed case, right? Another mixed marriage. Another mixed case, right? That he gave, that he said and she gave. Zok Tosfos, Mashelo hizkir klal, nosnohi ve'omerhu. Why is the Gemara ignoring that middle of the road? That variation she gave him and he said, Mishum deloi psikale, because it's not clear that it doesn't work. Because sometimes such a case does work. If he said the ret mekudeshes and she gave him a gift, sometimes she's mekudeshes. The pe'omi mekudeshes, you know what that is? The odom choshuv kedomer lekamon, with an important person, which means, let's say there's an odom choshuv. For some people, an odom choshuv is the choshuv erov. For some people, unfortunately, Adam Choshuv is some, I don't know, star, yeah? But whatever the event is, let's say a girl, imagine yourself a girl who's giving a gift to a person who usually doesn't receive gifts. She gives him a gift, and that Choshev a man accepts the gift from her and only from her. Would that be worth money? Yes. Yes. In other words, imagine yourself a girl, she's standing on stage and she's giving a gift to the big star, watched by 10 million people all over the world, and she's the only one who gives him the gift and he receives the gift from her. You know how many girls would pay money for that? A lot. And she shares it with her friends on social media, which I'm completely against. Yeah? Right? Of course it's worth money. So Lamaisa, he indirectly gave her by agreeing to receive her gift. That's the case in the Gemara later. And Mela says, nurses, we're ignoring that because that's not so simple. Yeah? If he said, Aret mekudeshes li, but me receiving your gift, so she physically gave. And he said, that case is out of radar in our page because it will be discussed later because of what I told you. Hatzlachu v'rocho, questions are welcome. Tomorrow we're starting, I'll hear your questions, I promise. And tomorrow we're starting from the 2 dots, Omar Shmuel. Remember, we are in the line Omar Shmuel after the 2 dots. In Kiddushin Daf Amud Beis, may we sharpen the swords of Torah, because that's the only way to win the war. And may our beautiful soldiers be matzliach. They shouldn't have to go in. The war will be won without them going to Gaza. Everything will be good. Mashiach should come soon. Tzlachu bracha.